There are moments when life hands us a responsibility so large it feels unfair, like being asked to replace someone irreplaceable or to step into a future we don't feel ready for. We smile on the outside while quietly wondering if we will fail everyone who believes in us. Those moments reveal a deeper fear, not of the task itself, but of whether the presence that carried us this far will still go with us. That is where the story of Joshua begins, not with trumpets or battles, but with a leader standing in the shadow of greatness, needing reassurance that God would not abandon him now that everything depended on him. Joshua steps into the story at a painful transition point. Moses is gone. The wilderness years are ending, and the promise still feels just out of reach. God speaks to Joshua with clarity and firmness, calling him to lead Israel across the Jordan and into the land promised long before his birth. Yet the command is paired with comfort. God does not merely instruct Joshua to be strong. He promises his presence. The same God who was with Moses will be with Joshua, not as a distant idea, but as an active companion guiding every step. This calling is not based on Joshua's resume, but on God's faithfulness. The first test of that promise comes immediately at the Jordan River, swollen and impassable. Instead of clever strategy, God invites obedience that requires trust. As the priests carrying the ark step into the water, the river stops flowing, parting before them just as the sea once did under Moses. The people cross on dry ground, and Joshua commands stones to be set as a memorial so future generations will remember that it was God who made a way. The miracle confirms that Joshua's leadership is marked by the same divine presence that defined the previous generation. That presence follows Joshua into battles that defy human logic. At Jericho, there is no siege engine or sword-first attack, only obedience to instructions that seem strange and even humiliating. They march, they wait, they trust, and the walls fall not by force but by faith. Later, when Joshua faces defeat at Ai, he learns that victory is not automatic, it flows from alignment with God's holiness. Repentance restores direction, and once again God leads them forward. Even the sun standing still during battle is not about Joshua's fame, but about God's commitment to fulfill his promise through a willing servant who listens. From Joshua's life, one powerful truth rises above the noise. Calling does not erase fear, but God's presence gives courage room to grow. Joshua was not fearless, he was faithful. Strength came from knowing he was not alone. In our own lives, stepping into new seasons often brings uncertainty, but confidence is formed not by having all the answers, but by trusting the one who goes before us. Another lesson is that obedience often looks foolish before it looks fruitful. Marching around walls, stepping into flooded rivers, waiting when action feels urgent, these moments test whether we trust God's voice over our instincts. Joshua teaches us that delayed understanding is not disobedience, and that God often reveals his power after we take the first step, not before. Joshua's story also reminds us that spiritual victory requires ongoing humility. Failure at Ai shows that success yesterday does not replace dependence today. God's presence is not controlled or assumed. It is honored through repentance and obedience. Growth means staying teachable, even after great wins, and remembering that leadership begins with submission to God's direction. As Joshua's life draws to a close, he gathers the people and challenges them to choose whom they will serve. His famous declaration is not fueled by arrogance but by remembrance. He has seen what God can do with a surrendered life. The battles, the miracles, the endurance, all of it points to a God who keeps his promises and stays with his people. Joshua's story leaves us with assurance that when God calls us forward, he does not send us alone. His presence still goes before us, steadying our hearts, strengthening our resolve, and reminding us that faithfulness matters more than fear when walking into the promises of God.